Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's video, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Bgood 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I want to talk about something very important. And again, this very heavily ties in with societal narcissism, and the narcissism and narcissistic abuse you might end up going through regarding one-on-one interactions, which ties in with the title of this video. The narcissist will convince you it was your own idea for your self-destruction, which also ties in with the variety of comments many of you have been leaving over the last few days, that we will be going over and covering as well. So let's talk about the title. You see, if you look at any ancient text on how to take over a people, or how to defeat a particular enemy, you will see a lot of common threads, so to speak, between one ancient text and another, and from one part of the world to the next. And one of the best and easiest ways these leaders or strategists are able to get their goal of victory is to get you to literally destroy yourself. Here's a real-world example. The former bodybuilding champion and movie icon, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was known for this in his bodybuilding days. You see, Arnold had a very strong vision of where he wanted to go, and he did work intensely hard at his dreams and goals. However, he also realized that if he had one misstep that could possibly cost him, so he would often befriend certain bodybuilders in his circle, under the guise of helping them. Now when I say this, most of his old friends now seen it as just part of the game, and he won. So it is what it is. However, you can clearly see in other instances and from interviews of others, that though they liked him, they knew when to keep their distance, because they knew he was a master at mind games, and his goal would be to mess you up, so you would no longer be a threat to him upon time to going to get your physiques judged, regarding who would win and who would lose. He greatly shows this off in the movie Pumping Iron. Now Arnold stated after the fact that a good part of what you witnessed in his behavior was to spice things up for the documentary, and he happily took the role of the villain, and he knew it would help the film become popular. And to this I can agree. It was the real world before the real world, so to speak. And as we know, there is a big element of so-called reality television that is scripted or at least prompted. And I believe this same approach might have been taken regarding making this documentary. However, in a recent interview with Frank Zane, another top bodybuilding champion of his day, and a real threat to Arnold, as Zane I believe beat Arnold on at least one occasion if I'm not mistaken. Zane mentioned how Arnold offered to room with him before a big show, and Zane wanted no part of it, because he knew that the entire time, Arnold would be trying to play his mind games to take Zane out of his element, and lessen his chances at winning, thus getting him to sabotage himself. Now though Zane opted out of rooming with Arnold, Arnold still won the show. However, what this shows to me, though the documentary might have been an exaggeration of Arnold's character, he was still willing to employ strategies and techniques to get his opponents of losing before they even stepped on stage. Now, though Arnold had a very superior body during those times, there were a few instances his wins were questionable, or at least the others might have stood a better chance. But this is a very powerful tool. And as Arnold says in the documentary, if these mind games are a tool available to use, he might as well use it. Now I'm sure there were others in that world that might have done the same. But it sounds like in that era and time, that was what Arnold was known for. So much those in the know might stay clear of him when he was starting to play his games. or to not take what he was saying to them seriously. He might look at someone with a straight face and give them a tip on nutrition or posing, with the so-called intent to help them. However, if you seriously believed what he had to say, that was on you. And here's the thing. There might be times of the year when he was less competitive and he might offer real help and advice. But if he next year noticed you as an up-and-coming threat, he might use that trust you now have built up in him to mess you up with wrong help and advice. So when you fail, you are so confused. You are at the end of the day blaming yourself. While Arnold smiles and walks away with the trophy and title. Does any of this sound familiar to what we have been talking about for a few days? Narcissist will get you to second guess yourself and your choices. Remember the example of a relationship one might have. You meet this cool new friend at work. They make tons of positive deposits of trust into your life. And then when they switch and start giving you bad information and bad advice, you are a lot easier to sway and to get you to second guess your choice in such important things as your spouse, the school you send your children to the food you eat, and the house and neighbor you live in. You see, Arnold in his heyday was a master at convincing you that you weren't in shape. He might see a real weak point in your body and ignore a flaw he might have, and start taking metaphoric jabs at you, knowing you are too nice and kind to make fun of him back. And he knew. The average person's self-esteem is fragile. Wait a minute. This was my friend. This is the same guy that was helping me. Now he's making fun of me, or saying sly comments or backhanded comments to implant in my mind that I'm a so-called loser. Well, this is how a great many relationships in our society fall. Relationships that have a real chance. But here's the thing. You having a happy and together relationship doesn't bring the system the money it wants and the control it craves. So it puts into place a variety of things and people that will work on your day and night to get you away from a good support system. Like Arnold said, I will convince him to lose. This is no problem. Well, the variety of systems of society will convince you that you don't have a happy family, and that you must seek for happiness here and there. And by the time you realize it was all a scam, it's too late. You have already lost. And society has its trophy, so to speak. And you are stuck with a broken life. And we see this happening. This playbook happening in nearly all modes of society. It's this constant hustling you and getting you to think and behave in such a way that doesn't serve your best interests. Because just like in this example, with Arnold and the people he was competing against, Arnold had a long-term goal. And he felt he had to use every single thing he could use to get where he wanted to go. And if that meant getting people to self-destruct, it appears according to some, he was willing to do such things. Well, I have news for you. If you are allowed to build a happy home without this person feeding you bad information over here, and that person feeding you bad information over there, over time what can happen is maybe not you, but your children or grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren might be able to really compete. If you let a family's success grow from one generation after the next, this can pose a real threat to those that consider themselves to be the movers and shakers of society. So what they do is they implant artificial obstacles in your way. So you get stuck and discouraged at every turn. And so you will stop way before you have a chance to get where you are wanting to go. And that's life. No matter if you are at work, or if we are talking about the bigger picture of what is going on around us in life. This is why it's good to question things and to ask questions. And to not feel like a failure, simply because this thing or that thing is inducing such feelings in you. But instead, ask yourself, why would such an obstacle even be there? Then ask yourself, who planted such an obstacle? Money, power, jealousy, and a number of other reasons can prompt people that have power. And those that want power and money to rig things so you lose before you even step on the field or stage. This is why I will tell you this right now. And it's something I will mention again and again. If you have met someone that you care about and they care about you, sit down and have a real serious talk with them. And come to an understanding that there are people in this world that will try to break you two up and ruin your family. Sit down and come up with a good life game plan. And one thing that should be gone over is to not talk about every detail of your lives with others. Now there is a difference between asking for help if your spouse is a narcissist and or another toxic person and mistreating you, and someone that you love and that you know loves you. Yet you have struggles like every other person does. Telling people at your workplace, let's say about your husband losing his job, will only give ammo to some of the other people at work to get you to second guess your husband. Or if a man says his wife's parents aren't nice people to be around, this too could spark those to dogpile on this relationship as being bad when it might not be. Plus, this not talking about such things is a great way to vet and weed certain people from your life, while others are gossiping and you are not, even when they try to prompt you or take jabs at you to do so. Eventually the narcissists will get bored and leave you alone because they know they aren't getting anywhere with you. And those that are the real deal and possibly good friends will respect your space and boundaries and might just give a chance to a real friendship with you. And if you can master this way of seeing things and dealing with people, you might just be able to see some of these same tricks being played on people in society in general. People are like chess pieces. And there are other people that think they are smarter and better than you are, getting you to move in the direction they want, by nudges, suggestions, and by getting you to second guess your choices, decisions, and everything about your life. And I think if people were able to see this big picture, I think they would see the long hustle and the scam that is run over and over again on a great many people in society today. But with that said, let's get into some comments. One subscriber commented, "Narcissists want to keep us plugged into the matrix." And I completely agree with this. And I believe the matrix is their reality with their rules and their way of seeing things. It's normal to have your family ripped apart. It's normal to grow up in brokenness. And no one questions it. Or not as many question it as they should. They just go along with the matrix. Because they don't want to understand the true manipulation behind most things they do or are a part of. Great comment. Another subscriber mentioned, regarding the title of one of my videos, narcissists want you to give up your blessings. And they mentioned they have never heard of it put like that before. But it now makes sense to them. And I believe that goes back to the matrix. And even the Arnold analogy. While such mind games are happening, you don't think of it in the terms that it really is. That's why it makes the brainwashing and manipulation so effective. Because, though a great many of these bodybuilders in Arnold's era eventually figured out what he was doing, however, I don't think they knew the extent in how it factored into being important in his long-term life goals and vision. And if you aren't looking at things that there are narcissists looking to get you to give up your prize or your blessings, it makes it that much easier for them to take it from you. Or better yet, to get you to willingly hand over your blessings to them without putting up a struggle. Another subscriber mentioned we must stay away with in regards to keeping narcissists out of our lives. And this goes back to having a plan. You see, Arnold had a plan to win his trophies and titles. He had a plan with his training. And he had a plan with his mind games. And he likely knew through conversations with his competitors that they didn't have as strong of a plan as he had. Now this isn't to say Arnold is a narcissist. However, his tactics were very close to what a narcissist might do to a prey item. Kind of like when we say, a narcissist doesn't talk without purpose. Even when it seems they are making idle conversation, they are really gathering information. Information they can store and use later. Information that will help them put together an even stronger game plan to defeat you. And I can see Arnold being this way. Yes. He was having fun and enjoying himself. But I don't think he wasted any conversation with any of these people. I'm fairly certain there was some underlying meaning and or information gathered in most of his even friendly and seemingly harmless interactions. Simply put, he was likely using friendship to study his opponents. Do they have a game plan? Do they not? How strong is their game plan if they have one? And how can I get them to abandon their game plan and do something else that will make them not only lose, but lose with no longer being a threat to himself? Now, if one man is possibly thinking like this, what do you think the real top movers and shakers in society are thinking and acting like? What do you think people are thinking and acting like when you show up to your new job and you are happily married and super smart and great at your job? On to another comment. A subscriber wrote that he was told there was something wrong with him for wanting a basic life. And here's the thing. There are a few people out there that have mentioned. There are some people that are cut out to stay up for hours and hours to study to be a doctor. And some that aren't. The fact of the matter is, there were a lot of ordinary and so-called basic people in the Bible that were picked to do some great things. Now, I'm not saying that such a thing will happen to you. But while putting your best foot forward, you might get a calling that isn't so basic. Or that might seem basic to others, but might be extremely important in the long run. A lot of this is a great many not being able to see what you see in life. And in the life you lead. The other part is and can be societal narcissism. Misery loves company. So they want you to join them in their dysfunction. And in the end to get you to think you came up with it all on your own. When in reality they induce this feeling in you over a long period of time. Another subscriber wrote. Basically, while narcissists are manipulating, God is mastering and managing. And to that I say amen. And I believe He's mastering and managing through a great many of us. He's allowing us to see the wrongs and the lies and the scams. So we might warn others. You see, it mainly starts off with the family. Look back in time and they literally got people through one step and another to give up the family unit. One day we had a family unit. And now we don't. And most people are standing around scratching their heads wanting to know how this happened. But when you go back and look at the steps, you see each step and each phase playing its part to giving up the family structure, with the belief the grass was greener on the other side. When in reality the grass was metaphorically dead on the other side. It's the same playbook. You make people feel like everything they are doing is wrong. You make them second guess everything about how they are having a family or a romantic relationship. And then when the time is right, you hand them a bad self-help metaphoric book on how they can be successful. But little do they know. The book is purposely full of bad information, getting you to work against your own best interests. And in doing so, you not only ensure your failure, but you increase the chances of your children and their children becoming failures as well. Because the hope is, this bad information from this bad metaphoric handbook will get passed down from one generation to the next. Another subscriber left a comment. Don't let demons define you. This is so important and ties in with what we are doing. You see the second guessing that is induced. It's induced with evil intent. And these feelings are completely false. If you look at Frank Zane's body, though he wasn't the biggest, some say he was the most polished. Yet he stayed away from the negativity. Yes, he trained with a lot of these people. However, many times he trained and worked on his game plan alone or with his longtime wife, who I believe he's still married to till this day. I think he was smart enough to see what was happening. Though he was friendly with most of these people, he likely didn't allow this friendliness to translate into him fully trusting them. However, who he trusted was himself and his wife. And as a result he did quite well in his career. However, the great many people that surrounded Arnold, people know of them. But compared to Arnold they somewhat blended into the crowd. And this isn't being said to lessen their work. But they seemed to be under his umbrella, where he was the leader, the king. And everyone knew. While Frank Zane was the lone wolf off to the side doing his own thing. And as a result, he carved out his own identity. Now was he as successful as Arnold? No. However, his identity stands on its own. Whereas the other guys are somehow attached to Arnold in one way or another when stories are told. Again, this isn't to lessen what they did. But it shows you how much control and influence Arnold likely had over his friends and those around him. And when you let someone define you, not calling Arnold a demon, but you know what I mean. When you let someone define you, you might just step on stage ready to lose. Well, this is the same in life. You might be ready to give up your happy marriage to backpack across Europe with people that don't love you, let alone like you. Though you are convinced that they do. The power of suggestion is strong. Strong enough to let a demon or a toxic person define you. Don't let it happen. Another commented about being grateful. This is very, very big. And this is something I've been working on. To get up every day and thank God I'm living and healthy. And I have another chance to do better that day. There is so much to be happy and thankful for. Because you see, again, the power of suggestion is real. The narcissist wants you to feel so low about yourself that you bring upon more bad things just by your negative thinking and feeling about yourself. Because they know, when you feel good and are positive, your chances at getting where you want to be are a lot higher. So they want to keep you in a negative state of mind 24/7. So you can never achieve your dreams and goals. And another subscriber mentioned how some people are very happy to drag you down to hell with them. And this goes back into narcissists' love to turn other people into them. Especially if they seem to have a decent moral compass. To warp and mess that up is the ultimate high to them. And again, misery loves company. They know they are evil. And they want you to have the same fate as they will suffer. Again, these are some great comments. Keep them coming. And the more I have time, the more I will go over them. Because we can indeed learn a lot from each other. And we can then look outward at what is happening to society. And we can see the very things we talk about here play out each and every day. Again, the more we share, the more we grow. Someone new might stop by this channel and say, wait a minute. This happened to me. Or this is happening to me right now. And they can do something positively about their situation. Which is the goal. Prevention is the key. So please, don't just watch this video. I have nearly 1,000 videos on this channel. Go back and watch some of my older work as well. I'm pretty sure you will find tons of answers. Along with checking out the other content creators. As we are in this together. You aren't alone. Unlike how the narcissists want to make you feel. You are not alone. Well, that's all I have for now. Please let me know what you think in the comments section below. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.